Hey, what's going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to the 4-game NBA main slate on Saturday. The regular playoffs are finally here, and I'm super excited. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings, and I also make videos for NBA Top Shot. If you're unable to watch these videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. Link down below is called the DKDFS Show. And if you could, leave a 5-star rating and review. That would be greatly appreciated. If you're interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that on Patreon.com, an esports package. That includes Call of Duty and CSGO, as well as an NBA package. And I do want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring this episode. If you're not familiar with Prize Picks, so the idea is they will post players and fantasy scores, fantasy projections, and you can either take the over or the under on them. They also have single stat. They don't have that posted yet. I would guess that would be posted sometime tomorrow morning. But yeah, so they have a bunch of different players, like 12 or 16 right now. I'm assuming more will be posted throughout the day. And again, you can take over or the under here. You can mix and match sports too. So they have like every single sport you can think of, literally everything, like esports, NBA, MLB, PGA. So the two I mentioned in the last video were the over on Ja and the over on Steph. Both hit. Obviously, overtime helped, but they both hit before the overtime. So a couple that stand out to me, I think. First one is Kawhi Leonard at 44 fantasy points. I think that is too low for playoff Kawhi. If you look at, we'll talk about the Clippers, and I like him for DFS too. But there's been a ton of blowouts there for the Clippers, and yeah, he hasn't played full allotment of minutes. So I think the over on Kawhi there looks pretty good. And then with the Boston guys, so this is going to be a super up-tempo game against the Brooklyn Nets. And if they have any chance of keeping it close, we're going to have to see big games from Tatum and Kemba. So I don't mind going the over on both. If you think that game stays competitive, I think probably both those Boston guys will go over. Now, obviously, there's the blowout risk, right? But I just have a hard time against the Nets, seeing that game staying close and not seeing a big game from Tatum and Kemba. So those two plus Kawhi, I'm probably where I'm looking if you want to take the over. And finally, I just want to thank you guys for all your continued support. We hit like almost 300 viewers. I streamed for like 15 to 20 minutes today. I know we'll go over my lineup here in a sec for the show. It didn't go well for me because foul trouble, name of the game for me, but it is what it is. But those slates have a lot of variance. I don't put a ton of money on those showdown slates. I play them more for fun. But yeah, we'll go over my lineup here in a sec. I just want to thank you guys again for all of your support. So if you guys could leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. I will be doing YouTube live stream tomorrow. Remember, this is going to be an early stream since the games start early. So it's 1 p.m. lock. I'll be live 12 p.m. Central to break down this 4-game slate and answer any questions you guys have. And let's try to aim for 150 likes in this video. I think the last couple of videos we've hit 150 likes. That helps a ton, guys. Every single like on the video, just allows more people to see the content. So, all right, yeah, before we talk about the 4-game slate, we can look back lineup here from the showdown slate. Again, foul trouble, right? I talked about this. Okay, the only way Jonas Valanciunas fails is foul trouble. And sure enough, 2 quick fouls in the first quarter, picks up his third to begin the second quarter early, and then a fourth early in the third quarter. And then he fouls out, and it's just like, man, it was just in foul trouble the entire game. The first foul, too, was such BS against Draymond Green. That was a flop. It is what it is. And with obviously when JV got in foul trouble, Ja Morant took over. And, that's what we saw. When JV was out for like a week and a half stretch at the end of the regular season, we saw some massive games from Ja Morant. And again, when JV is off the court, Ja is the clear number one guy, and that's why he had the massive game. And I'm really happy. Like I don't hate the Warriors, obviously, like Steph, like Draymond, but I was really rooting for the Grizzlies. You guys know I'm a huge Ja fan. Obviously, love JV as well. So happy they won. But yeah, the roster construction. So with JV getting in foul trouble too, I mentioned this on Twitter. It absolutely killed the value of Kevon Looney. Now he didn't have a terrible game, but right when JV picked up 2 quick fouls and subbed out, Looney right out. When JV picked up his third, Looney right out, right? Whenever JV left the game, Looney left the court. He was basically only out there to guard Jonas Valanciunas. Now, if Jonas Valanciunas stayed out of foul trouble, he would have played like 35 to 40 minutes, and Looney would have been out there basically the entire time, and then he probably would have had a really good game. So, random foul trouble like that is unpredictable. Against a like super aggressive center like Embiid or like a Towns, I get a little bit more worried about foul trouble. But like, I'm not worried about JV foul trouble against Looney. It's just unfortunate that it happened right again. The one BS offensive foul to start the game. And then, I used Steph and Draymond there at the top. Both did really, really good. Brooks was a little bit disappointing, but I couldn't afford Ja with this lineup. And then Mulder, I mentioned that he was going to be popular just because he was the only guy really in that range that was doable. Now, you saw some really weird stuff, right? I mentioned, hey, the only way Tillman really gets there is that you need foul trouble at JV and Triple J. And you did. You got foul trouble at JV and Triple J. So Tillman got extra run. He crushed. And surprisingly, he actually closed over Triple J. That's it for the look back, guys. Again, foul trouble killed my night. If you played Ja, congrats. I think, winning lineup had to be Ja and the captain. Let's see. I didn't even look at it. Draymond and the captain. Wow. Okay. So Draymond and the captain was Steph, Ja. Wiggins had 42. Really? I feel like he played awful that game. Maybe it was just a clutch time. I mean, I watched the whole game, but man, didn't feel like he had 42 feints. What's Tillman and Grayson Allen? Yeah, again, you saw some weird stuff, right? With the two bigs getting in foul trouble, there was a lot of extra minutes to go around for those Memphis guys. So weird one there, a lot of variance. I would have never made that lineup, but congrats to you on the takedown. And all right, enough of me talking about that. So let's talk about this 4-game slate. Super, super excited about this. We have Miami, we have Milwaukee at 227 over under. Bucks 4.5 point favorites. Mavs and Clippers 218 over under. Clips 5.5 point favorites. Celtics and Nets 229 over under. Nets 8 point favorites, and Trailblazers Nuggets at 227.5 or under. Nuggets 1 point favorites. All right. Starting off with Miami and Milwaukee. And Miami is actually a team I really like on this slate. Jimmy Butler, especially at 8.4. Jimmy and Bam are underpriced, but Jimmy especially. 8.4K against the Milwaukee Bucks. I know the Bucks are a good team, but they play very fast. And we're going to get like 40-ish minutes out of Jimmy Butler. At 8.4K, this is just way too cheap. One of my favorite plays of the slate. I really like Jimmy Butler. I also like Bam Adebayo a good amount too. Now, would I play both? Probably not on a 4-gamer unless maybe you just game stack this game. And I think I would give the slight edge to Jimmy Butler over Bam, but I still like Bam, a guy that's going to play, again, 35-plus minutes, not scared of Brook Lopez in the defensive end. So I like both Miami stars, Jimmy especially. Hero at 6K probably can't do it. Minutes have been very up and down for him. I mean, he can have upside, but I think I would rather get to the point guards for a little bit cheaper. And the point guards being Kendrick Nunn and Goran Dragic. So we'll start with Goran Dragic. I actually really, really like him for value. We should get about, I would say, 30 minutes off the bench. We know Dragic's actually a pretty good point per minute guy, and the 4.9K price, in my opinion, is way too cheap. So I do like Dragic a good amount, and Kendrick Nunn I like too. I don't think this is going to be the same situation as last playoffs where like he was like the starting point guard for the regular season, and then once it got to the playoffs, he like barely played. No, because Nunn's actually been playing pretty decent. So I think Nunn is still viable. I'm assuming he starts. But I think I would feel a little more comfortable about Dragic off the bench at a similar price. I'm just a little bit more comfortable with his minutes. So Nunn and Dragic both in play, but I think I give that to Dragic there off the bench. And a couple other guys I want to mention. Ariza at 4.7 feels a little bit pricey, but he should play about 30 minutes. Again, fair value. And Duncan Robinson is certainly in play here. I think we get, if he's shooting the ball well, probably about 35 minutes. If he's struggling shooting the ball like he did here against Philly, maybe only about 20 to 25 minutes, right? That's the issue with Duncan. He's got a pretty wide range of outcomes, but this also makes him a good tournament play because when he is getting really hot, right, he can go out and get you 30 plus, 40. So I do like Duncan as a GPP value play because the upside is there. The floor is just low. On the Milwaukee Bucks side, so not as much to like here on the Bucks side for me. Middleton and Drew I'll probably pass on. Giannis Antetokounmpo at 10.7. Obviously playable, but this is like one of the worst matchup against Miami. I just think I prefer other stars in better matchups. So right now the Bucks are kind of secondary plays for me. Like DiVincenzo doesn't really stand out. Like Lopez at 4.5, just like there. Bobby Portis on the bench, probably not. It's weird. I don't have a ton of interest in the Bucks. I think the big three are all playable, but just all kind of secondary plays for me. Dallas and the Clippers. So starting at the top, Luka Doncic at 10.5K. I would say kind of the same thing as Giannis, right? Obviously, he has upside, and obviously he can have a big game in a tougher matchup. But I think there's just other stars that like a little bit more in easier matchups. So Luka Doncic, more of a contrarian spend up. Porzingis at 8.1K. The issue with him really is health, right? He's been banged up all year long. Now, I'm assuming since this is the playoffs, he's going to have to play, as many minutes as he can handle, probably 35 plus. He's at 8-1 as opposed to 10-5 at Luka. If I'm going to play one of the Dallas stars, I might take the chance on Porzingis. Now, obviously, there's risk involved, right? But I think I like the price a little bit better on Porzingis. Now, the secondary plays, this is where it gets tough for Dallas. Hardaway at 5.5 feels priced about right. Again, he's very light in the scoring. Dorian Finney-Smith doesn't really stand out. Again, a lower usage guy. Josh Richardson has been losing minutes. I know there's been some blowouts, but even in close games, he really hasn't cracked 30-plus minutes, which is concerning. Now, he is 4-3, so not completely out of play, but not something I feel great about. Like Brunson off the bench, the minutes are just so up and down in him. It's tough to figure out because he's a good point per minute guy, but like they fluctuate a lot. Maybe if I'm going to take a shot on one of the cheap like guards here for Dallas, I might roll the dice on Brunson over Richardson and just hope the minutes are there. But again, with Carlisle, what is he going to do with the rotation, right? So that's don't feel super good about that. And then Maxi Kleber is also back at 3.5K. If he starts, sure, he's in play. Just a really, really low floor. Dwight Powell has actually been playing really well for the Mavs. He's been starting at the 5. We'll see what they do the starting lineup. If he does start, like I think he's playable. But with Porzingis in the lineup, he does definitely take a usage hit. And that's probably it for me on the Dallas side. So let's move on to the Clippers. And I mean, this is just the pricing on the Clippers. They're way, way underpriced. Kawhi Leonard at 8K. 8K Kawhi Leonard. He is one of my favorite plays in the slate. Absolutely love Kawhi. So, 31 minutes, blowout. 30 minutes, blowout. 36 minutes against a tough defense, shot terrible, still won for 42 fantasy points. 30 minutes, blowout, right? All these blowouts. I think Draftkings is kind of lower the price because of, I don't know, recency bias, I guess. I don't know. He should not be 8K. So, Kawhi in the playoffs, he's going to play close to 40 minutes. Again, all the stars are going to get extended a little bit, so 8K is just way underpriced. I really, really like Kawhi, and I do like Paul George, too, at 7.8. Same thing I'll say. He's going to play close to 40 minutes. Kawhi and Paul George are two of my favorite plays of the slate. They are way underpriced. Now, Marcus Morris at 5.4 probably gets about 30 to 35 minutes. A fair play in the mid-range, but doesn't really stand out. Now, Zubac at 4.6, I'm probably not going to get to. I think he starts and plays about 20, 25 minutes. I think I would rather take the shot on Ibaka off the bench. Ibaka, the better point per minute guy. Now, I'm not expecting huge minutes, but I do think we probably get about 20 minutes from Ibaka off the bench. So like him as a GPP value play, because we know Serge Ibaka is a really, really good point per minute guy. And then the rest of this rotation, so for the playoff rotation, well, I guess we got to talk about Pat Beverly, because he's been starting the point guard. He's really cheap. Assuming he starts again, I think we get about 20 minutes. Now, right? He's a guy that is not, the best offensive player. But in 20 minutes at 3.3K, I'm not going to rule him out. It's just not something that I feel super good about. The playoff rotation, so obviously, starters, most likely it's going to be Pat Bev with Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, and Zubac. Ibaka's going to back up Zubac on the bench. Rondo will play the backup point. He'll play a decent amount. And then Batum will get in the rotation, I'm assuming. And then that's 8. So, is Reggie, does he get a little bit of run? 9? Or does Luke Kennard? Right? I'm not exactly sure. Does Terrence Mann? It's I am going to stay away from those guys, but we'll talk about Rondo. So 4-4, again, Pat Beverly is not going to play huge minutes, I don't think. Rondo's the better point per minute guy. If we get over 20 minutes from Rondo, I think he's someone that, again, looks like a good GPP value play, because we know Rondo's a guy that can go and get you, 8 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, a few steals in 20, 25 minutes, right? He's that type of guy. So Rondo and Ibaka off the bench are guys I'm eyeing for value here in the Clippers. All right, Boston and Brooklyn. So now the two late games are the games I think are going to be played a lot faster paced. Boston. We'll start with the Boston side. So again, obviously no Jaylen Brown. So this offense is going to be Tatum and Kemba Walker, and this is a phenomenal matchup against the Nets. They play no defense. The only thing you have to worry about here is potential for a blowout. But like I said with Prize Picks, if Boston keeps this game close, I have a hard time. I don't see a way where Tatum and Kemba don't have huge games. anything could happen, sure, but I have a hard time seeing that. So with that being said, Jason Tatum 10.1K is a guy I do like. And it's just because matchup plus the minutes plus no Jaylen Brown. He looks like one of the better spin-ups of the slate. And I really like Kemba too at 7.5. He's going to play close to 40 minutes probably. He's a guy that's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And again, he's got to be the number 2 on offense with Brown out. So Tatum and Kemba Walker, I actually really like here for Boston. Now it gets a little trickier with the secondary plays here for the Celtics. So Evan Fournier at 6.2. He's going to play 35 minutes. Which Evan Fournier are we going to get, right? A guy I personally really dislike playing. Like him and Wiggins are guys I never play. He went on a stretch where he was killing it, and then I finally bought into it, and he was awful, and he's not been great recently, but he has got to be their number 3 on offense, scoring the ball, right? They need help scoring when Kemba and Tatum are not out there maybe, or they're struggling. Like Fournier has got to be their 3rd guy. So at 6.2K, I think he's a fair play in the mid-range. Marcus Smart's is their do-it-all guy, right? He's going to be out there for defense. He's a guy that can get the peripheral stats. Maybe doesn't, like, you'll see a big game from Smart one every like 10 to 15 games, and he does have upside, but it's pretty rare, and he can go out and get you 40 to 50, but again, it's like one every 10 to 15 games. So if you want to play Smart and hope for that huge upside game, I don't hate it. He's just not someone I'm prioritizing. And the 2 centers, looks like Robert Williams is going to play. So him and Tristan Thompson should split the center minutes. It's a good matchup. This is a tricky one. I think Thompson's safer just because he's not dealing with an injury. So yeah, I do think Thompson's the safer centers. If they're going to split the center minutes like 24-24, I'd rather get to Robert Williams as the better point per minute guy. But again, dealing with the foot injury, it's a risk, right? It's kind of like Edmund Sumner, who like the last 4 games he played, he left every single game due to injury. It's obviously a risk targeting a guy like Robert Williams. So high risk, high reward play there, and I'm not going to get to anyone off the bench for Boston. On the Brooklyn Nets side, so this is tricky because all 3 stars are healthy and they're all, priced decent. Kyrie at 9.2, KD at 9.7, Harden at 10.3K. I will say I'm not going to prioritize any of these big 3 because it's kind of hard to nail down which one it's going to be when they're all healthy. We haven't seen all 3 healthy a ton this season, and when we did, right, it was really hard to try to nail down which one was going to be. So I think all 3 are firmly in play. On this 4-game slate, though, I think I feel more comfortable targeting stars on more, I guess shorthanded teams or teams that are just like, less talent, right? Like Boston, right? Like Tatum and Kemba have to be their guys. So that's kind of my take with these Nets guys. They are firmly in play, and probably at least one of these guys will have a big game. I just don't have a good read on which one's going to be. I think KD probably has the highest floor, but all three of them are in play. Now Joe Harris of 4.7. Probably gets about 25 to 35 minutes, somewhere in that range. He's very reliant in scoring. Playable. Bruce Brown probably loses some minutes too. Maybe only about 20 to 25 from him. I know he's had some big games, but do I trust these minutes? Not necessarily. And then the bigs. So Blake Griffin most likely starts at the 5. And I think we probably get somewhere around 20 to 25 minutes from Blake. He's kind of washed at this point in his career, obviously, but he's at a price point where it's like, okay, I could see taking a shot on Blake Griffin here for value. And then a sneaky value play I like, I don't know if it's going to be too sneaky, is Nick Claxton. I think they're going to split the center minutes, unless they go small ball. I guess that's possible, but, Boston is a bigger, if Robert Williams and Tristan Thompson both play, they're going to have a traditional center out there at all times. So I don't really know if Brooklyn can go small, and DeAndre Jordan's been out of the rotation, so I'm assuming Claxton's the backup 5, and I'm assuming we get normal minutes of 20 to 25. So Claxton actually is a value play kind of like on this slate off the bench. I'm probably not going to get to anyone else, though. All right, finally, Portland and Denver. So on the Portland side, with Dame and CJ, both feel a little bit underpriced. Dame Lillard, I like a good amount here. He's going to play close to 40 minutes. I just think the price is a little bit too cheap for him in the spot. So I do like Dame. I do have some interest in CJ as well. And then a little revenge game narrative here for Yusuf Nurkic, who the Nuggets traded him away years ago. Remember, they got Plumlee back, traded him for Plumlee. Oh, I forget what the exact trade was, but I remember it was Plumlee, Nurkic. I don't know if there's any other picks included or whatever, but Nurkic, again, little revenge game. He is, you guys know I'm a huge Nurkic fan. He's a great point per minute guy. What I'm concerned about here is foul trouble against Jokic, because Jokic is going to have the ball in his hands a ton this game. I do think maybe instead of 30 minutes, we get closer to the 35-minute mark for Nurkic in the playoffs here. So he's someone I like a good amount. I'm just a little bit worried about potential foul trouble there against Jokic. Norman Powell at 5'7". Normally in the regular season, I kind of just cross this guy off when they're fully healthy. But, I mean, he's going to play 35-ish minutes. He's going to get a ton of shot attempts up. The issue is, and he still does have this floor, right? 39 minutes, 16 fantasy points if he's not hitting his shots. But I just think he's a fair play. And Rocco, kind of the same thing. Like, he'll play about 30 minutes, fair value. And then Melo, I think, is even intriguing off the bench. I think we get about 20 to 25 minutes. We know he's a decent scorer. Again, the slate doesn't, have a ton of value. So Melo's interesting. And then Cantor is a really, really good point per minute guy. If you think Nurkic gets in some foul trouble, I think you can take a shot on Cantor. Either way, I think we probably, since Denver's a big team, we probably get at least, I would say, 12 to 15 minutes from Cantor, possibly more if there's foul trouble on Nurkic. And again, Cantor's a really good point per minute guy. So another one that's I kind of like for GPPs and Enes Kanter. And finally, Denver. So Nikola Jokic at 10-6. He is one of the best spin-ups in the slate, right? A short-handed Denver team, a really good matchup here. I really like Jokic at the top if you can afford him. Jokic is one of my favorite spend-ups. MPJ at 8.2K. He's got to be the number 2 with no Jamal Murray. He's had some pretty big games here in the regular season. Price point, I think, is fair. Not something that I love. I think I'm going to spend up. I would rather get to Jokic, but obviously, you're going to have to use an extra like $2,500. Campazzo at 5'2". With Monte Morris coming back, does he lose minutes? We'll see. I think we probably get at least 30 minutes from Campazzo. I've gotten him wrong the 2 times I've played him. Like the 2 bad games he's had, I've played. But I think he's a guy that, at 5.2K does feel a little bit too cheap if he's going to continue to play 30, 35 minutes because, the peripheral stats, right? And the good matchup here. So Campazzo, I think I'm intrigued by there. Aaron Gordon, he's been good for them defensively, but it really has not done much on the offensive end. Again, it is a good matchup. He's playable. Again, I just don't feel amazing about it. Rivers is questionable. I expect him to play. It's just, non-COVID illness. So I expect Rivers to be out there. Assuming he starts, we probably get about 30 minutes from him, which actually makes him a fair value play. Again, do I ever get excited about playing Austin Rivers? No. But I think if he starts, we probably get close to that for minutes. And then off the bench, I want to mention, where is he? Where's Monte Morris? So Monte Morris at 3-3. I think we probably get around 20 minutes from him off the bench. Maybe a little bit more if he's playing well. Monte Morris is a pretty decent point per minute guy. He's someone I'm looking to for value. With the backup 5, Denver does a really weird, they will rotate, and sometimes Millsap gets a DNP, sometimes it's McGee, sometimes it's JaMychal Green. If you want to take a shot on one of those guys, fine, but be prepared to take a DNP. My guess would be Millsap and JaMychal Green come off the bench, but don't know that for sure. Millsap is a good point per minute guy. He is. But there's also a chance he gets a DNP. Just we've seen that this year from Denver. So that is the risk with the 2 value bigs there for Denver. All right. That is going to do it for the video today, guys. So if you haven't enjoyed the content so far, I would really appreciate if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. Again, I will be doing YouTube live stream tomorrow. It's going to be an early one, 12 p.m. Central. Make sure to check it out. Thanks again. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow in the live stream.